I don't think it's too outlandish to say that most people start anime in the fantasy and isekai genre. After all, it's oversaturated with cliches that push all the right buttons for your short attention spans. The overpowered MC, the nonchalantness, the aura, the fan service, the flashy powers in action. It's essentially straight cinema if you just don't use your brain. So as fellow gooners of this genre, you can't even deny that you haven't thought about being reincarnated into an animeverse at least once. You know how cool it would be to learn magic in Witch Hat Atelier or Mushoku Tensei? How about having a curse technique in JJK, or even a breathing style in Demon Slayer? It seems so tough when you think about it on the surface, until you realize that unless you're a part of the main cast, you're either going to lead a normal-ass life, which at that point there really isn't a need to reincarnate, or you're going to get slimed out in the most painful way imaginable. Take Demon Slayer for example. Learning breathing styles and total concentration breathing seems insanely cool. Just look at Tengen here. You can't tell me it's not blasting King Von as he's giving Yvta a bell. However, unless you are a Hashira or have at least the potential to be one, you will just be straight fodder. Even those who are Hashiras had to deal with the most abysmal situations known to man. So regardless, you're either going to die, be in absolute agony while trying to save the world, or you will be a normal person who could be turned into a sunducker at any moment in time without even knowing it. After having watched Witch Hat Atelier, the magic system seems so interesting and complex to learn. But imagine being born as a regular outsider and never getting to know magic's secret. Boom. Now you are stuck in a magical world without magic. And no, you aren't Asta. My point is, reincarnating into any of these worlds would absolutely suck if you aren't dealt the right cards, which then leads me to one single criteria for reincarnation. If I were to be an average person, not wealthy or extremely poor, have a good family who will care and raise me in this new world, and have the same exact opportunities as every other average citizen, how well could I assimilate there based on my interests? In other words, could I find fulfillment in this new place as a regular person that I can't already find in my current world? If the answer is straight doom and despair, or the same exact boredom you already feel in the real world, then it probably isn't a place worth reincarnating into. Which then brings me to one conclusion. I'm not saying it is the only anime world with this concept, or even the best world for that matter, but it's definitely something worth considering. A place that will not only allow you to lead a normal life, but to also experience an endless number of fantastical adventures despite being an average person. As you can probably guess from the title already, the name of this anime is Sword Art Online.
Link start!
Before I even dive into my argument here, I want to clarify that when I say Sword Art Online, I'm not talking about the death game. Sure, it would be surreal to find myself in a fantasy world with real life implications, but this would essentially render the whole not being the main character criteria useless. No, I won't be dual wielding, unfortunately, my reaction time is absolute garbage. No, I will most likely not have the balls to fight giant bosses as a solo player, and unfortunately, I will probably not find the love of my life either. If anything, I'll likely die to a bore while learning basic mechanics before even finding out that I couldn't log out, or survive and level up by joining raid parties only to be gimped by a red player, so I'll pass on that. What I mean is the actual technological world of SAO, where the concept of full dive VR is being researched, developed, and actively integrated into daily life. Through inventions like the Nerve Gear and Ambusphere, you can be an average person going about your day, while still being able to experience the endless adventures that await you in these virtual worlds. Since, from what I could tell, these headsets are relatively affordable, meaning that they are widely available to some degree. However, you might be thinking, isn't this literally the same thing as playing video games on your PC or console? Well, kind of. Of course, this is literally another form of gaming, but what makes this completely different is the immersive capabilities. You can play shooter or open world games on regular consoles for sure. You can even play like VR games with your handheld controllers, but you won't actually feel like you're in that space. You may feel the adrenaline rush while trying to clutch a 1v5, or by frame perfect dodging a literal god of a boss who's turning you from a player to a victim, but at the end of the day, it's just you pressing buttons while sitting like a chud on your chair. This isn't the case with the Ambusphere or the Nerve Gear though, because you're able to feel like you are a part of the new realm itself. The warmth of the sun on your skin, the breeze of the wind, the thrill of combat with your own body. You'll feel adrenaline like never before through the amplified setting, with the realisticness of each map further accentuating the experience. Like you will essentially feel as if you've been physically transported into another world, practically granting you an unlimited number of reincarnations if you think about it. On another note, while you may not be the main character in the real world, you can feel like one here. Even the characters of SEO would describe VR as a way to fully escape from the outside world and live a life that they didn't know was possible. For Yvta, she was able to relieve herself of her burdens using the flight mechanic in AOL, providing a sense of freedom that she never felt prior. And more notably, we have Xenon, whose time as a sniper in GGO allowed her to become a stronger version of her current self, eliminating players with a badass sniper rifle instead of cowering at the sight of a pistol. As you can see, these little factors can help even normal people find some sort of salvation. It can even serve as some form of therapy, as you saw with Xenon, giving them an outlet of escape that's even better than conventional gaming. Now, as we've likely seen from this show, there are many dangers that come with full dive VR. I'm well aware of that. This is bound to be an issue in its early stages of development, especially if you have a world where the creators are absolute freaks. Even if you aren't involved in something as traumatic as the SAO incident, being completely defenseless and unconscious while playing a game can be terrifying. Which then leads me to the Augma. The Augma was introduced in Ordinal Scale, where we get to see advancements in the AR space as well. Sure, this can be used for gaming in the outside world, but it can also be a quality of life improvement too. Blending the digital and real worlds together helps you to keep up with things while on the move, improving with exercise, increasing the frequency of gatherings to the many events and activities that are on the system, and even bringing AI girlfriends to life, or AI daughters. The Augma simply enhances the life of everyday people. And if you are still worried about having your memories stolen, well, let's be completely honest here. You won't be an SAO survivor, so your memories will be A-okay. Also, just as a side note, in the movie, it seems like some characters are able to achieve superhuman speed in the real world by using like special suits or straight grit and determination. So perhaps you can still have action on par with the ones you have in Full Dive VR, you never know. Actually, while we are on the topic, Full Dive VR can also improve other aspects of life that aren't gaming related. And what I'm referring to is the medical field. If you watched the latter half of Season 2, you probably met Yuki and her group, the Sleeping Knights. All these members were terminally ill or incapacitated in some form, making daily tasks pretty much impossible. Yuki herself was battling with AIDS, requiring many different medicines and chemicals that would result in excruciating pain every single day. But through experiments using a machine called the Medicuboid, Yuki still managed to live some form of life in the virtual world. It simply blocked her pain inhibitors while she received treatment, giving her active mind the chance to play a bunch of games, meet a group of similarly situated people, and even become the strongest swordswoman in ALO who was able to one-tap a beater like Kirito. She could even communicate to the outside world using it, interacting with her doctor and even Asuna, a connection she was able to only make because the Medicuboid existed. It doesn't just stop here either. In Alicization, we got to see the potential of a full dive machine called the Soul Translator, whose ability to interact with one's soul allows for simulated dreaming, accelerated time, and most importantly, artificial neuroplasticity. Kirito legit became a vegetable 2 different times during the Alicization arc. The brain damage was so severe that it was said that conventional treatment would not be able to nurture him back to his normal self. Yet, through the machine's stimulation of Kirito's Fluctlight, which is what they call a person's soul in the show, he was able to make a full recovery. And this isn't even mentioning the fact that he still woke up despite his soul enduring 200 years worth of memories in the underworld. So as you can see, the full dive VR technology in SAO makes it a perfect place to reincarnate into. It allows you to have an endless amount of experiences with minimal consequences to your real self. The quality of life is greatly improved through things like the Augma and medical devices like the Medicuboid, and the world is still similar enough to our current one to the point where we can blend right in, hence checking off the criteria I mentioned at the beginning. I have to say though, SAO is definitely bordering on dystopian because of the fact that they just reached the point where sentient AIs exist, shout out to the Go Alice, but most likely an AI invasion won't happen in the time that we are alive in that universe, unless the author proves me wrong. I'm actually curious to see you guys answer this prompt, so let me know in the comments what anime world you guys would want to reincarnate into based on the rule I had mentioned and why. Alright, love you guys, bye bye!